Alright, it's 11:30 p.m. On the 19th, Wednesday, December 19th, 2012. My name is Stephen Evans, and this is Frederick Michael Donaldson. See? Frederick. It says my name is Frederick on it. The idea today is a little bit of innovation, a little bit of risk-taking, a little bit of, hey, why the heck not? And a little bit of education. I'm going to do an instructional video, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I cleared as much space up on my BlackBerry as possible, and I've got this really weird setup here with this TV behind me. I can see my reflection in the black of the TV, and the viewfinder on the BlackBerry on the opposite side of it. I can see the reflection, so I can see myself that way, because there's no viewer on this side. I made a little video explaining kind of what that's all about. And I mounted it with some duct tape to the back of the laptop so I can just see myself and I can adjust what we're looking at on here. I have a simple home lamp there above me, kind of for the lighting. Oh, I just looked right into it. What an idiot. Okay. Now I can't see. Now I got a fuzz in my eye. Alright. So the idea was today just to do a video explaining a little bit about the circle of fifths as one part of it, and also a little bit about transposition, how to transpose, if that's even the correct term in this case. Transposing basically usually means you're taking the same notes from one tuning and then like transposing them into a different tuning so that you can play the same song with the same notes just up higher on a guitar, perhaps with a capo or things like that, or if you drop the tuning down all the strings, or even just one of the strings like in drop D or drop C, drop A, whatever. But in this case, we're actually doing kind of the opposite of that, I guess, and what I'm going to teach you how to do is how to establish keys, like what key you're playing in when you've got a capo mounted somewhere on the neck. For some people, this is going to be really obvious. For other people, you know, maybe this is something that you haven't looked at before. It's not something that I really usually do. I don't usually play with a capo. Today, what I'm also going to be demonstrating at the same time, not perfectly well, mind you, considering I don't usually use these kind of chords at all in my playing, and especially not on this kind of thick nylon string acoustic guitar. The strings are old. I need to change them. Again, this is education on a budget. This is for a friend, particularly, who wanted to do a Dream Theater cover with me. I was like, okay, cool, DT. I love DT. Let's do it. And he sent me the section. He wants me to do some soloing over top of it, some electric guitar soloing. That's not what I'm doing today. I just wanted to talk about the chords and I'll show you how you can play these chords without a capo. Because there is a way to play most chords, your standard open position chords, the ones that people are used to. Those are like the chords that he's sent me. There's a C, E minor, and a D. And I'm going to talk about how I've come to the conclusion of what key I think that's most likely to be in the on the fret section that he's actually working with, in the position that he's working with. So yeah, so this is mainly for a guy named Paul Little. Awesome dude. Don't know him that well, but hopefully other people will find that this is helpful to them as well. And again, I'm not sure how long this is going to take. This is an experiment, and I'm going to do it without any further visual aids other than the instrument itself. So before I get started on the actual lesson at hand, I wanted to do just a very quick background, teach you what a major scale is. Major scale sounds like this. So that's just the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And my hands are sweaty and I haven't practiced in a while, so this is not going to sound the best. And you can also play it like this. The reason I want to show a major scale is just because, again, we're going to be talking about the circle of fifths, and that's all based on degrees. The fifth is a degree, and establishing a fifth based on a root note, which is the first note, or generally speaking, the lowest note in a chord, a three-note chord, called the triad. A triad is just a chord consisting of 3 notes. To some people this is going to sound like, holy cow, another video talking about the same old thing I've heard before. Other people have never heard the word triad before and probably asking me, like, who the hell are you and what do you think you're doing? But yeah, so the chords in this case for the solo section that he's sent me here, that I'm looking on my screen right here in the Facebook message, are C, C major, E minor, D major. That's it. Just those chords. It's just C, E minor, and D. Those are all in line with each other in a particular key. Now, the one that jumps out at me that makes most sense when I hear that is probably that the key would be in E minor, based on the fact that we're using a D major chord, and a D major chord would be the 5 chord in the key of G major or E minor. So if you have that F sharp, or in this case, I'm not sure how well this is showing up on the screen here. It looks pretty good. I don't know. This is an experiment once again, guys. But what he's been doing to better suit his vocal range, as to be put the best, I guess, he's mounted a capo on the 7th fret. Now, I'm going to show you how to play these chords, the same chords, up higher on the neck, the same chord shapes as in the open position, except without a capo, because you don't necessarily need one in a lot of cases. And I'm also going to show you how to play a G chord without a capo. When I first learned how to do that, I thought it was like really challenging and interesting, but it's kind of cool. Okay, so if you mount a capo here, okay, and again we said that the key was going to be an E minor. That's what's most likely, given those 3 chords, in my mind, probably E minor. We're going to be taking the C chord, and this is where the C chord would be. Say if there's a capo here. If you had a capo mounted here on the 7th fret, this would become your C. And the note now there are a few ways to establish that. If you're not too familiar, just think about the open strings. These are E and A. And if this is A, we're going back A flat, G, which makes this a G chord. Now if you look over here, this is how you play the C chord. And then what you do in this case, if you need to basically play these notes on the 7th fret on the G string, the 3rd string, and the 1st string, what you're going to do is instead of using your 3rd finger, middle finger, and index finger, you're going to replace your fingers so that your index finger can basically bar these notes over here. And now you've got one of these bad boys. Whoops. So now you have a G major chord, 1 octave higher. So this would be the octave note here. The open G. And this is the octave higher than the G here. And this is a G and a G open. I'm going a little fast for some people, a little slower for other people. Again, this is mostly for people at the same level, I guess, as the person this is for. Alright, so there's a C chord. An E minor chord. In this case, we're going to be transposing it up. If this is even the proper terminology, again, this is not something that I'm used to talking about. We're just going to make a simple bar chord. Ignore the middle finger that I'm giving you all right now. You're just going to put your index finger on the 7th fret, where the capo would sit, and then your 3rd finger and pinky finger down below it, just power chord. That's your... Now this case, this is a B, so that's a B minor chord. It's easy to figure that out because if you know your A string translates directly to parallel the note, the 5th fret on the 6th string. If you know that this is the same as this, and you just are going one whole tone up, so that's A sharp B, given that we're playing this power chord, and then we're playing this note here, which is D. That D is what's going to make this a B minor chord. If it was not a B minor chord, we'd have a D sharp there, and then you have B major. Hopefully this is all making sense so far. Okay, so now we have two bar chords. We have the C. You can also bring this all the way down, and you can include, ooh, my fingernail's a little bit long. It's a novice move. I remember telling all my students, especially the younger people, I have female students and they just hated cutting their fingernails. So you gotta cut your fingernails, people. It's important. Take my own advice. This was a spur of the moment thing. But yeah, that's another kind of chord there too. I've always kind of liked that. It's got kind of a minor 6 element to it. It's a minor scale, 6th note, and the octave to the root. So you can always drop down your index finger to further the bar, complete it across the strings. So now, so we have the G major chord, which is just a shift up to the C, and your B minor bar chord, which is the same as the open position E minor. The last chord is your D. So this is where your D would fall. Now this is a bit of a hard chord to do. I can't really do it. Yeah, no, I can't really do it like that. So I'm just going to do it like this. And you can always take other notes out, like here. So in this case, what you can do is you can play a major chord like this. You're just taking the note here, which is A, octave from the A we talked about before, to this A. And you're just going to add that to our D major chord, which in this case is not a D major. To establish the root of that, you simply do what we did before. And this was the root before. This was C. This is G. And this becomes an A. So this is an A major chord. More commonly recognized as this. But we're doing it here. And familiarizing yourself with the sound of octaves, what octaves sound like, and just how to parallel notes basically in your mind to match up and determine where you are in the neck, figure out what notes you are on and stuff like that. That's just kind of a challenge for some people, but it takes a little time, a little practice. I still can't tune perfectly by ear. I don't know what that's about exactly. I've been learning slowly. Best way to do that, work with a tuner that you watch and by ear at the same time. I had a really good teacher once, Eric Weiss. He's the one who told me that, professed by many other teachers. Anyway, now how to do a G, an open position G chord without a capo. So generally what one would do, if someone wanted to play a G, they would play it like this. If you wanted to play it in this higher position. Some people play their Gs with their third finger. This here. Or you can play with your pinky. I like to include the D in there. The D on the second string, 3rd fret, to give it kind of a more full-bodied sound G. If you want to make it a little less full-bodied, a little more country sound, take that D out. It is just a color note, that's the D is the 5th. We'll talk a little more about that after. Yes, so if we're up here and we want to play this, the note we're actually playing is D. So there's your D right there. And that would be your chord, because we're taking that from, here's A, sharp, B, C, sharp, D. So that's the 8th fret, which is the same as the D here, the 5th fret. We're in relation to C, where we were before. I try to relate a lot of things to C. C is sort of where things start, given that It's a key that doesn't have any sharps or flats. It's all naturals. A lot of this is going to be stuff that people already know. Again, particular people, this is focused towards, you know, some people are going to know this already, other people not. So don't feel like I'm repeating things. Shift forward if you need to. That's what fast forward buttons are for. Okay, but now, how do you do this chord? You can't do the one with a D the way I like to do it. Oops, I think my fingernails a little low. It's a challenging chord to do if your fingernails aren't short enough, like mine aren't right now. This is a bad instructional video, but I'm getting the point across. Basically what you do is you just take, instead of doing this, or this, you're just going to take your middle finger, your third finger rather, plant your third finger first, place it on the 8th fret on the 6th string, the D, and then the next note is your, well, if you go here, this is D, sharp, E, sharp, F, D, F, sharp, sorry. Yeah, so this is E, F sharp. Because if you want to play an F sharp, again, we're talking about D major. A D major chord has an F sharp, D, F sharp, and A. It's been such a long time since I've talked about these things. So yeah, those are your chords. There's your triad, your 3-note triad, major D in that position, which is the same as this chord. Notice how it sounds the same? People that aren't in the room with me right now? Yeah, I really do have to cut my fingernails to do this properly. Maybe later, doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, there you go. That's how you do a G chord, or potentially do a G chord without a capo. Yeah, so now we're going to just talk about the circle of fifths and how to determine why I've come to the conclusion I have as to what key we are now playing in. Again, before, I thought that we were playing in E minor, based on the F sharp in D major. This is just, in most likelihood, this is what I would say I would solo in, or what a person would generally think to solo in. Now, without any other visual aids, again, this is going to be challenging, but I'm going to see that I can do the best I can, because the map of the guitar neck is a pretty helpful tool. You know, I really wish I had like markers on here. I'm going to put a couple markers on here. So I'm just taking pieces of duct tape and looping them just around just the top of the neck so you can see the position holders, which makes it a little easier for you to know where I am on the neck. If I had thought to do this before, hey, maybe this would have been easier for people. But I was counting things out kind of in an elementary sort of way, so. Alright, so now we've established where you can still see that, that's the 3rd fret, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and then where the body meets the acoustic guitar body, the neck, I mean, this is the 12th fret. Generally, there are 2 dots on the 12th fret, but you're just going to have to look at this, the body where it meets. Okay, so, given that I thought it was E minor, the parallel to E minor, the relative major it's called, is G major. And this is all a hunch that one can establish based off of simply the fact that we're using an F sharp. Alright, now things are going to get a little more technical now. Not plane wise, thankfully for my fingernails. Okay. So we have the circle of fifths. The way the circle of fifths basically works is you start at C, C not having any sharps or flats. You basically go to the 5th note in that key, or to the to the 5th note in that key, and then that becomes kind of your parameter for where you're going to go next. Okay, so if you go C, D, E, F, G, C, D, E, F, G. Your G is going to be the next key that you're going to add 1 sharp to. Now where do you find this sharp? Well, to make that key, the key you're playing in, you simply go back one semitone. You go back one semitone, and then you make that the change, the raise. Right here, sorry. The G, here. So now we have an F sharp, and I actually did make a mistake a second ago. I don't know why I said that. So now we have G major, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. So now we're playing the same scale as this, except we're playing it, transposing it down a fourth, it's called. That's how I generally look at it anyway, because if you go down 4 notes from C in a major fashion, you have a G. It's a fourth. Fourth is always the same, whether you're major or minor. There's your C and your G. On a guitar neck, your fourths are always positioned immediately atop and bottom of each other, adjacent vertically. A fifth, a perfect fifth, which is also the same in all cases, minor or major, unless you sharpen it or flat it, that's a flat or sharp fifth. Otherwise, it's called a perfect. That's just from your index finger to your third finger on the next string down. I think this is all viewable, I think. At least for these strings. Once you get down to these 2 strings here, your G and your D, or your G and B, things change. You raise things up. So your fourth is no longer like that. That actually becomes your major third interval. You just raise it up to your fourth. And then your fifth becomes like this, a fourth, 4 frets rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, except 1 string up. A little bit better. Okay, so there's your fourths and fifths. Now, to get to where we are here, way the heck up on this fret, we're going to establish what this interval is. And that basically is from the E open to B. Okay, so what we're doing is we're transposing or pushing everything up, we're raising everything a perfect fifth. Because if you have an open E string, I'm playing the open E, the low string, and you go to the next string up, A sharp, B. So there you go. That's the same as this power chord shape. You needn't go into the fact that you could go into the whole as a major or minor scale or anything like that. You don't need to do that with fifths. You know, you could map it all out, you can do the whole scale if you wanted to, but it's really pointless. Just knowing your intervals the simplest way, that's kind of good enough for this, for all intents and purposes. Okay, so now what we've done is, we've raised our whole scheme up 1 perfect fifth, from open E to B. And what that also means is that we've also raised all of our other root notes and all of our thirds and fifths that make up all the triads that we're using in the song. We're also raising those all up a perfect fifth as well. Everything moves together. So that means that the C, if you go from C in the key of C major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the fifth. Similarly, you'll find that this is also a C on the 8th. Yes, the 8th fret. I may have said that this was the 8th fret earlier, the D, but that's the 10th fret. If I made that mistake before, I'm not sure. I think I did. Yeah, so this is the 8th fret, the C. That's a power chord there. From C to G. Also, you can do it the old-fashioned way. From C to or sorry, C, E to G. So yeah, as we have root, third, fifth, root, fifth. So there we go. That's moved up a fifth, a perfect fifth. Anytime you add 7 frets, so whatever your open string is plus 7 frets, that's going to be your perfect fifth. The other chord again was going to be D, and that's how we would be playing it if we had it in open position. Notice what I'm doing is I'm barring outside the nut to represent what we're doing here in this case. That's just the same thing with different different fingering. And again, I'm actually using incorrect technique here just to account for my fingernails, because this was spur of the moment once again. The fact that my fingers are set up like this and facing like in straight lines like this, like that is bad technique. You want to see a nice curve to all your fingers, but to better accommodate the fact that my nails is like that, I have to straighten my fingers, and this is improper technique. It really limits your playing. Also, having your guitar at an angle like this is helpful. Okay, so I also established earlier that this was the key we were playing in, E minor. Simply put, all you're doing is you're putting yourself in this key, B minor. Now, how do you establish how many sharps are in the key of B minor? Well, we have to do a little bit of running around the neck, and we have to do the same thing that we did a moment ago when I changed the F to an F sharp. From when we went to C to G, we raised the F to an F sharp to make that 7th note major 7th. We're going to have to do that again from G, and from G we'll find D. So here's G. Okay. So from D, all you're doing to make it D major is you're adding C sharp. Funnily enough, the note we came from before was C, just before G, and you'll notice that that pattern is sort of a continuing thing. So now we have an F sharp and a C sharp when we're in the key of D. You add the one you had before and the new one. So for every time you go up a fifth to a new key in the circle of fifths, you're always adding another sharp, but you're keeping the existing ones you had before. That's how the circle of fifths works when you're going in an ascending fashion using sharps. You can also do the same with flats, but that's generally more suited towards if you're talking about descending patterns. Going downward is just easier to read when you're reading music, and just talking, it just makes it easier for communication purposes. Anyway, so yeah, now we've gone to D, but we need to make it all the way up to the relative major, right? Which again we said was D, right? So that means that we have 2 sharps in this key. So we can be in B minor or D major. And that's what I'll be soloing in. This went pretty well, I think. I'd like to make probably more videos like this. This is kind of cool. I like the way this is set up. Hopefully this made sense to people. If it didn't, comment. I'd be happy to clear things up. It's been a long time since I've made, again, instructional videos or played much guitar. I've been a lot more focused on other things, just broadening myself, I guess, just trying new stuff. But yeah, it's good to do this again. Again, my name's Steven. This will be on Facebook, and hopefully this is helpful. I don't know. I'll look forward to doing the song. And yeah, shredding. I haven't shred for people in a while, so play some Dream Theater-esque kind of stuff. Thanks, John Petrucci. Bye, guys.